We ready to kick this off?
Let's
We got a few
go.
people in here already. Today's discussion is businesses in the metaverse, plausibility discussion. My name is Stein. I'm from the Corn Mafia Guild. I'm here with my co-host Freiler. How you doing, Freiler?
Doing excellent, Stein. How you doing today?
Good, good. We already got one speaker up, which is Moody. He's from the Knights Guild. And I hope today's discussion goes off without a hitch. I know we have had a scheduling, like you said, with the Fall Guys tournament on Cornucopias. So we might be missing a few people that are in that, but that's okay. Basically, today's discussion, I want to kick it off with a little first question. Now, I want people to chime in on this if they can. The metaverse offers potentially new spaces and business to conduct their operations. Now, the question is, are businesses going to want to move into the metaverse? And how can we get these businesses to move into the metaverse? And that's my first question. These are real world businesses that have no connectivity to the metaverse except for Web 2, which is just their store in their portal and selling things online that way. Do you think it's feasible and plausible that these companies will want to move into the metaverse? And what benefits will the metaverse offer them that a Web 2 interface can offer? Any biters on this one?
So, I thought of a couple, and I think one that I might be looking at from maybe just like a rather unique standpoint. I come from a construction background. So while I think a lot of the use cases for real life businesses bridging into the metaverse is going to be more so an improvement of a Web 2 function rather than like an entirely new innovation. I'm sure we will have those as technology progresses, but right now I think it's going to be more improving things that we already have. So one that I thought of is in construction, when you're on big projects, you have like several different softwares, one that's mapping out where all the ducting and the hard piping goes throughout the whole building and things like that. And then you have a whole nother software where you arrange to, submit submittals or RFIs or any sort of information to groups of people. And then you have, Skype for chatting with them about that. You have all these different things. And when you do QA, I'd go through with like a 360-degree camera and just take videos of the whole building. And it's a really cumbersome thing to get all this information to the engineers, over to the builders, to the owners. So I could see in a virtual world how you could really improve all of those things, keep it all in one place. The engineers and the owners and the GC could all go virtually walk the same building at the same time and point things out. So I think that that's one that's kind of interesting. I have a few others, but I might let somebody else chime in with something they thought before I go off on them.
But I was thinking that they already have engineering software that people use in VR. I've seen.
Do they?
Well, yes, they already do that. If there's a couple of YouTube channels that I follow on architectural design that they actually make their buildings all in CAD, obviously, and you can walk through them with VR. And they also do some Unreal Engine designing of buildings for their clients to walk through. So I think that's that. But I want to get to the discussion of not the building process for a new business, but bringing in businesses that are already established. And is it too early? Is it too early for them to be thinking about switching over to Web3? And what will Web3 benefits provide them that Web 2 does not? And I'm gonna Moody has his hand up, so I'm gonna let Moody pull off from this one, and we'll riff off that. Go ahead, Moody.
Hey, good evening. So, yeah, I agree. There is already tech out there to allow the construction industry, especially architects, to actually give a really real life like example on CAD and BIM and all of that good stuff. So yeah,
I'm familiar
agree
with BIM and all that, but I don't think it's as comprehensive as what I was talking about. But go for it.
No, it won't. It's not yet, but it could be. I think that they are already. There are some areas where they are quite advanced. But yeah, what I was going to say. So as always, I can't just say a quick answer. Sorry, guys. I wanted to make 2 points. So my first point is quite crass. So I think like a lot of new technology, it's usually some of the dodgy enterprises and dodgy businesses that actually do some groundbreaking stuff quite early. And I actually think that one of the mainstream kind of like industries that come into the metaverse and the Web3 is the porn industry. And be that either media porn or some kind of something, any kind of like porn industry. I think that will be one of the first kind of like major industries moving into the metaverse, just for all of the virtual stuff and stuff like that. But the second point I was going to make is, and it's more about Web3 rather than the metaverse. It is strongly linked. But I think that every single one of us on this channel, and every single one of us who interfaces with any kind of online shopping, has an absolute nightmare when it comes to, I want to buy this thing. It's a one-off. I'm never going to go back to this website again. I just need to buy it. And you have to go through all of that palaver. I know there's guest functions there, but you have to go through all of that palaver to give your name, your address, your contact details, your card details. And I think the concept of a wallet in the merchandising space will be massively adopted soon. So you literally just connect your wallet, and that's it. You don't need to register. You don't need to tick that little box that says you don't want newsletters and stuff like that, which we all get. So I think the merchandise industry or the online shop industry will very quickly move to having that wallet kind of interface. It's just a lot easier for consumers. So yeah, they're the 2 points. I think the porn industry will be pretty quick to jump into a space. And I think merchandising and kind of like shopping will be one of the early adopters as well.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I don't want to get too deep into the porn industry, but they are the first industry that's why VHS tapes took off. That's why the internet took off. And if I'm not mistaken, that's how the online credit cards payment I took off, because you weren't able to purchase things using a credit card online. And I think I actually saw a movie about it, something like that. That was implemented. The software was implemented because of the adult entertainment business. So they're the first adopters. They're the ones that will move into spaces most definitely.
But Stein, there's a massive risk here, and this comes with a decentralized web. That one thing that Web 2 can do is actually control access from minors. When I say minors, I don't mean Bitcoin minors. I mean children. That there is a level of restriction you can build into Web 2. Whereas when you've got a decentralized platform, that kind of is a lot harder to manage. And so I think there's going to be and like previous versions of when the porn industry is, or the adult, let's call it the adult industry rather than the porn industry. It's a bit less crass.
Yeah.
There's been examples when the adult industry has taken that leap of faith a lot earlier because of whatever reason. But I think there's a bigger challenge when it comes to decentralization internet because of that access control for youngsters. So it's a real double-edged sword there. But I think they'll very quickly move into the virtual adult space.
Well, I think, I'm not sure about, digital identities and things like that. But if something like that is implemented in the future, which probably will happen, people will want to do that. I mean, I'm talking about from my point of view as an older man, and just working with signing into sites and all that stuff is it's a challenge. You know, you don't want to put your identity out there and things like that. But I think if you have a smart contract where your identity is locked up on the blockchain, and then you have your age, I'm thinking maybe in the future they will have an implementation of, well, you can't even come into this part of the metaverse, or you won't even be able to see that part of the metaverse
Yeah,
if your digital identity is under an age restriction. And
yeah,
you know, I mean, I think it would be easy to implement in the future as we're hooking up these heads up displays and things like that with your wallet that's connected to a credit card or something like that. So you don't have to fumble around uh, buying USD and then, or buying whatever cryptocurrency and then trading it for another cryptocurrency. It's got to, I think in the future it'll be implemented easier for people. And I think that'll be built right into the system, which I'm hoping.
yeah. Well, some of that stuff I was going to wait for the infrastructure later, but you guys touched on a couple of important topics. Is one, you need the metaverse to be decentralized, right? Which somebody has to build one that's decentralized first. And then we already have different people that are working on stuff like that, like Atlas Prism, that's going to be able to, control payment and privacy and data and stuff like that. So we need things like that to be integrated into the metaverse so that we can move forward with stuff like that. I really feel like technology is going to be a limiting factor when it comes to a lot of that stuff. But I totally agree with you guys. I think e-commerce and the adult industry, though, are already heavily rooted into Web 2, so it's going to be an easy transition for them. Again, I feel like most things that are already in Web 2, of course, we can see how Web 3 is going to be just an improvement to those functions that we already have.
Well, I think we're all, or a lot of us in here, if not all of us in here, are very interested in cornucopias, metaverse, and gaming, and I think I think the devs over there, this could be the first time that they may be able to implement something to that effect, where you can actually purchase their token directly from a credit card. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if that's possible at all. But if anybody can do it, I'm pretty sure these guys can. And I don't know the I don't know the difficulties that'll have, and I don't know if you can do it. But I know you can buy cryptocurrency on some of the exchanges with a credit card. So I don't know why they couldn't have it so you can just put your credit card into your avatar or your character that's walking around. So when you want to buy something, it can either be in crypto or through credit, or however the economics of the metaverse will be. I don't know if the stores or the businesses in the metaverse will have to work with a central or a decentralized token of their choice of the metaverse. Like I know Cornucopia is going to be working with Gold and Copy. I don't know if they're going to be able to implement just the credit card purchasing. Like if I think you would have to do something like that for a store in the metaverse, that you can just buy something with a credit card. You can just go up and point to it and say, I want that. And it's purchased. And they can send you a physical item in the mail. So that's my riff on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why don't we go ahead with Susak? He's got his hand up. Let's move him. Yeah.
Thank you, Stein.
Yes.
Can you hear?
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent. Hey, Freiler. Hey, Moody. Hey, Stein. It's good to hear you. Let me just raise a few points. I don't want to say I played a bad guy, but I think it's very important first to separate a few topics. If you talk about metaverse, it doesn't automatically mean blockchain based, right? So there will be Web 2 metaverses with augmented reality and solutions like payment and wallets and all these tools that you can also have in apps for productive work. That all does not have to do with blockchain-based technology. Point one. The next thing is, in general, businesses go where people are. So there are two main reasons why a business can be successful or can be important for space, can for businesses. If it's marketing, then as mentioned before, they go where the people are because they want their messages to be received. But regarding the day-to-day work, if you have new smart workarounds or more efficient processes that you can offer with a certain technology, then it's also appreciated. But also there, I think it's important really not to be in a kind of wishful thinking mood, but realistically, what can a blockchain-based metaverse offer to you that a Web 2-based metaverse cannot, or what an augmented reality app actually cannot? This is just what I want to raise. So it sounds like a bit negative, but it isn't. I'm absolutely pumped about cornucopias,
Yeah,
but I think it's important.
I don't think it's sorry, Frank. I don't think it's a negative aspect. We're putting out this discussion to talk the negatives and the positives. I mean, there's no sense of FOMOing and pumping a certain aspect because we want to shill it, and that's not what these discussions are going to be about. So your questions are not negative at all, and I do get what you're saying, and I do understand between the Web 2 and Web 3. I know Zuckerberg with his metaverse is Web 2 based and it's all centralized. And I think we should keep that discussion open. And I think from moving forward, when we're talking about the metaverse, we should say whether it's Web 2 or Web 3 based. I'm thinking my metaverse is Web 3 based because most of us here are into crypto, and you were right with saying that people will go where the business will go where other businesses and other money will go. But how do we get those businesses into the metaverse? That's my biggest question. Is there any benefit to a standard normal business? Other, obviously you're not going to do a food industry business. I don't think something like that would be plausible. But any kind of retail business, is there any benefit for them to move into the space? I mean, realistically, we're all going to be on Web 2 for quite a long time, and I don't know if it's a passing I don't know if it's a passing fad or some kind of hype that the metaverse is going to change or make anything better. I'm hoping it will. I think the metaverse will help people who are maybe disabled, but for the rest of us, is it just a game or is it something more strong?
Can I jump in here?
Yeah, go ahead, Moody.
This is going back to the fundamentals of decentralization, and the whole movement. I don't actually think the movement will be, or that introduction of top businesses moving into the Web3 decentralization space. It will be consumer driven, right? The whole point about decentralization is all of these Web 2 organizations that have got, if we just look at Amazon Web Services, when you go onto Google and you search for something, it is so manipulated because of an organization's or a number of organizations' bottom line. And, even if two people sit down and they look through their Facebook wall, and they're exactly the same people, have been married for many years, they will have totally different kind of like advertisement on their Facebook wall. So the whole movement will come from the consumer, not necessarily the businesses. And the fundamentals of decentralization are giving people that much more choice and freedom. And the kind, I think the companies that actually break through into the Web3 and the Web3 metaverse, it's going to be driven by their client base and by their users. and we can't lose sight of what decentralization is going to do to hopefully do to this world, from a social value point of view, from an economic point of view. So that's the fundamental difference. It's choice rather than the manipulation, and that's a key part of why I'm totally invested in the decentralized world, because I don't want to read the news that some editor who's got his or her personal opinion wants me to read. I want to read the news that I want to read, and it's this kind of thing we need to really consider. It's much more than a game in the blockchain. This is about decentralization.
Do you think go ahead, Freiler, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak on that real quick. I think Sasek raised a really good point. It doesn't have to be decentralized. As much as I agree with Moody that I want it to be decentralized, I see the same future. I agree with him on every point. But Sasek is right. There's big centralized entities that are getting in the game, and so it's not all going to be decentralized. Unfortunately, even Cornucopia is currently not decentralized. We're working towards it, but we're not really decentralized. Cardano itself, working towards it, in a lot of cases, you're not going to get that immaculate conception, but we're definitely working towards it. So I think it's a great thing. I also agree with his point that it's going to be a lot consumer driven. We've seen big brands already try to branch in to Web3 as a way of advertisement. I think mainly all we really have so far is games and advertisement happening in the Web3 space, at least largely what I see. So, but to make the other point, though, I do think there is going to be a desire for e-commerce to come in. I know Stein's been trying to think of what are some more real world businesses, but e-commerce is already rooted there. It's going to be easier, like you guys all said, with sign-ins. If you're just logging in as your avatar and going exploring these virtual worlds, and it's connected to the same wallet, you're not signing in multiple places. That's good for the consumer. That's helpful for us. But from the business aspect, I'm assuming that there's going to be a lot of different data collection infrastructure and things like that. We already live in a world where you can really get nitty gritty with that stuff and really target your consumer. I think that that's going to be even more so in the metaverse. So I think there is a lot of good reasons for people that are already almost there, e-commerce and the adult industry and people like that, to move over. But of course, there is going to be a barrier to entry regarding, obviously, education, both for onboarding mass users and also for the businesses that want to use Web3. There's also going to be the infrastructure and things like that are kind of holding us back. So, yeah, a lot of good topics, a lot of good thoughts. I just want to get some of those off my chest before I forgot them.
Yeah, that's fine. that's why that's what I do. That's why I keep bouncing around. Now, are we during the pandemic, we were all hoping that we would have something more, that's why I think the metaverse kind of took off a little bit more in people's minds, because they were locked in the house and they wanted to experience something different, and communicate with people in a different way. And that really did not take off in that way, because I think we're so early in we're so early into this space that we cannot even think. We don't even know where it's going to be heading in 10 or 20 years. I mean, if somebody told me the internet would be what it was when I was younger, and you couldn't even get on the internet. I mean, you had a computer, that this was going to be what it is now, I wouldn't have believed it. And I'm thinking that our discussion here today may be at a moot point in the future, where people maybe they'll listen to this conversation and be like, wow, these guys were way off. they had no idea what they were talking about. They were all worried about this, and it never turned out that way at all, and it became something much bigger. And I'm hoping that's going to be I'm hoping that's going to be the point where our discussions now may lead to future endeavors for younger people who are interested in designing and implementing the metaverse. And I'm thinking that we may be even if you're young right now and listening to this or talking here, you may be the old man by the time this stuff is implemented worldwide and used every day. You know, we may be the Model Ts of talking about, yeah, we want our cars to do this. I would love to have some kind of air conditioner in my car. That's not possible. You know.
Stein, I agree with you, and I hope it's the same. I think the biggest, I think the most decentralization organizations, and they're not even organizations, such as governments, when it comes to things like voting, when it comes to things, that it's those kind of like functions in everyday life that will benefit so much more from decentralization. And they are so anti. I mean, we hear all of this conversation about CBDCs, or what they're called, the central bank digital currencies, but public information and public decision making, that is a prime opportunity for decentralization, for authentication on stuff like that. So that's a big industry which will never come. They'll be the dinosaurs. But I also think an industry that could step change the use of decentralization and blockchain, and in particular NFTs, is the housing market, the whole real estate and the whole purchasing and buying, selling of houses. I don't know what it's like in other countries, but it is an absolute nightmare in the UK to buy a house, with all of your searches, with all of your money laundering, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it takes months. And just with a really well-structured NFT, with proper metadata, with access to government databases, the selling and buying of a house could be a really, really quick process. So I think the housing market industry and the first few companies that actually step into that space of, utilizing NFTs for buying and selling houses. I mean, you'd need a level of recognition in like land registries and stuff like that. But I think that industry will very quickly be moving into the blockchain space.
Okay, I want to pull this conversation, what you said, I want to pull it back into the title of how do we get businesses going to work in the metaverse. And I want to pull what you were saying back, because that was getting a little bit too far into blockchain and decentralization. But I want to say that the housing market, if something like that was going to happen. Now, we're talking about businesses. Is it possible? I know of most of these houses, or a lot of these houses, at least with larger companies that cater to maybe higher end buyers or something like that. But I know a lot of these places now have virtual walkthroughs of houses. Is that a business that we can pull into the metaverse, where you can actually walk into a store in the metaverse, and it'll be a realty store, and you can go and look at houses in this store from all different types of realtors from around the world, or maybe each store will be a realtor company. You can walk into the store and say, "Oh yeah, I'm interested in the house. What's your price point?" And then they'll just show them all the houses that they want to look at from a frontal view, and then they can literally walk into the house and look at it in virtual.
That's happening already, Stein.
Well, I know, but it's not into a metaverse. It's not put into a metaverse. It's put into a web. It's put into a base where you have to physically go to a place that offers virtual reality or augmented reality. Now, is this something that will be implemented in the future into a metaverse? Because a lot of people that are searching for houses do not own virtual reality goggles or VR goggles or anything like that. But is that something that we can put into a metaverse for the future, where more people will have augmented reality or virtual reality? Is this a plausible business that'll happen in the metaverse? I mean, can we physically get these companies to invest in infrastructure, the realty company, which is trillions and trillions of dollars, can we get them into the metaverse where it's not on Facebook?
Hey, Stein, I think I have an easy answer. What you talk about is a kind of a showroom,
Right.
regardless if it's for real estate or for fashion or whatever. You talk about a virtual showroom, and yes, it makes sense, and it is a good solution to have this, but it only makes sense if the consumers are there. So first, you need to attract all consumers to be already in the metaverse before the big marketing budgets follow these consumers. And what Cornucopias does here is excellent because they use or abuse the gamification. You saw that big trend in gaming in the last decades. In the past, going into the cinema was big, and the cinema industry generated a lot of money. And at some point, gaming industry took over and increased massively. And Cornucopias is mixing both things, metaverse and gaming. And this is something interesting. But first, you need to compete with the existing mainstream gaming providers. And this is what also the Copy team mentioned. They said, we need to make blockchain gaming as simple as Web2 gaming so that the players don't recognize it's blockchain based. And then they suddenly might find out that there are some features and possibilities they didn't have before. Owning pieces of land or vehicles and being able to extract the value. If you bought a loot box, then it was always bound to that game in the Web2 where you bought it, and it was hard to sell it somewhere else again and pull the money out again. And if these little, let's say, advantages of the Web3 gaming are becoming recognized, then the crowd will come. And after the crowd, the businesses will come in. So I think it's a very smart approach, but the key is the KISS concept. Keep it simple and stupid. So everything can happen in the metaverse if the people are there. So this is still the first priority. Get the people in.
So do you think the metaverse, say in Cornucopias with their city, which I think will be more of the retail, right? It'll be more retail oriented or custom domes or things like that. Do you think that we're shooting too high? Do you think that this will be a desolate landscape while we're waiting for people? Is it chicken or the egg? Are we hoping that business will come in to fill up so we have something to do, or are we going to have to create these businesses ourselves?
So I think that's kind of to Sasik's point right there, is that it's going to start with gaming. That's going to be the first and best implementation of it. It's what we're the closest to. It's what we've got the most money going into right now. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I really like Cornucopias too, is that they're starting with that game. They're going to be moving into other areas too. And some of the things that I think that are stronger, like I think we all had realty written on our list of things that we thought might bridge in. But to me, I think that's kind of a weak point, as because there's regulatory issues and all these infrastructure and technology advancements and just barriers to entry when they already have, virtual tours. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of reason for them to move in. So there's a lot of reason for gaming, though. And so when they build this really awesome game and then they build Cardano World and then they gamify education, which I think education is a strong point that we can improve with the metaverse. We already have online colleges and stuff. We could definitely make those more immersive. And I think education is going to be a big one. And then also with that, we already have like virtual meetings and things like that. People like Crypto Capital Venture are going to have their headquarters there. So we're going to start bringing in YouTubers and content creators and drawing that crowd that he was talking about. So yeah, I don't think we're going to be building a desolate landscape. I think we'll get there gradually. I think in a lot of cases for a lot of other businesses, we're just a little too soon. And that's why I really think gaming is going to be what spearheads this metaverse movement.
Well, that's an excellent point. Because I'm worried that the landscape is going to be hard to implement in the beginning. I mean, like I said, we're all hoping that this is not the case because we want this to succeed. We want cornucopias to succeed. But there's another aspect that I was thinking that when you buy, if you can buy a retail shop, which would be an NFT, just like a custom dome, I'm hoping this is how it's going to be. Like if you buy a spot in the metaverse, since the metaverse can expand exponentially to fit the entire world if we had enough computing power, that if you bought an NFT for your shop, you would own it for the rest of your life, right? I mean, that spot would be locked up forever until you sold the NFT, just like regular real estate. Do you think that we're going to have guilds and other industries coming in maybe to push their businesses forward to moving in because they have invested money? Do you think other companies that may come into this metaverse be like, we need to buy up all this property space, we need to buy this all up because it's going to be worth something in the future? Do you think those companies will be the ones to push it, to push, you gotta put yourself into this virtual reality because I own the land and I gotta make money, I gotta sell it, or I gotta lease it? Do you think other larger companies will take the reins on this and do the marketing for us or for the metaverse before gaming is implemented? Is that something that could possibly happen? Question mark.
I think not before the gaming. I think it will happen, let's say, similar to the Web 2. If you remember, in the 90s, suddenly e-commerce and having a web page to sell something started. And at that time, everybody was desperately looking for somebody who can build him a web page. You have a business idea, but you're not able to write HTML at that time. So you need somebody who's creating this web shop for you that you can start your business. And here's something similar. And for sure, you can later sell a complete working dome business to somebody else, as you can sell a URL in Web 2 just to sell the name of the web page, or you sell the complete project with working processes and formulas and all these things. So I think the good thing here is that the team is on the one hand limited with development resources, so they can not immediately provide the whole world. That's good because at the beginning there won't be enough players, so they would feel alone. So it's good just to start with a small part of the team zones, and then later on, I think if people will play first and ignore the market, the custom domes. But imagine you have grinded for half a year, you have set up all your buildings on your themed land, and you've done some racing. At some point, you might want to jump on your javelin and fly to those big bubbles you heard of and look what's up there. Or you heard there's a concert somewhere, an event of one of your favorite content providers. And then suddenly you recognize there's an additional world. You leave your game, but you stay in the game. That's something new that wasn't there in the Web 2 gaming before. And so this will grow with the time. And at some point, if then enough people were hooked through the gaming, then the big money will come in and wants to have some space in the market domes. And at that time, it's good to be a solution provider, a service provider, custom dome concepts as a service. If you can offer this ready to go, they will throw their money at you. That's a long-term thing, I guess.
Yeah, real quick, I'm going to let somebody else speak, but that's such an excellent point, offering blockchain services and minting services to people. I wish Cornucopias would, because they have the best. I'll shut up.
There's two different dynamics here, isn't there? Okay, so all of these huge organizations that are established in the Web 2 world and whatever, their main drive into metaverses and into blockchain will be access to people, and people their main drive, well, they'll have lots of different drives, but fundamentally, people want their life to be easier, quicker. They want to they want to have choice. They want, they need to, their quality of life doing something needs to be improved. So it's almost like a balance. Once the metaverse and blockchain improves the average person's life, then more average people will go into that space, and then the organizations will say, oh, we've got some access here, so we need to move into that space. It'll take a few brave parties to invest early to be the front runners. But what we've got to think about, and this is a great thing that cornucopias have done, there's so many people in this world who don't even have access to Web 2, and like what Cardano are doing out in, or World Mobile Token are doing, World Mobile and Empower and all of that stuff. They're reaching out to communities where they're not absorbed 100% by the Web 2 world, and they're going straight in, giving people free mobile phones with the cornucopias game on. So it's a bit of a balance. The metaverse needs to make the quality of people's life better, or more fun, or something they can't get outside the metaverse. Once that balance is ticked, that's when we'll get a massive influx of organizations. It's a really, really strange balance. Well, it's not strange, it's normal, really.
Could I add in to that? Is there a line, or can I pipe in real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
All right. So in the real world, I have a business. You can look it up online. It's called Waterra USA. And we sell groundwater remediation equipment. And we have to train people over at the Denver Federal Center to use our pumps. So every year I have to send people over there who know how to use it and teach these guys what they're doing. And then they go out and then they teach people all, for the USGS all across the country. What I'm going to use for one of my custom domes, and this is something that can be used immediately, is I can show people how to pull one of my pumps apart and put it back together in the metaverse instead of sending people around the country. And so that's an immediate benefit. And I think there are other people like me, other businesses like me, that see the advantages of the metaverse. And we have to be able to, I think the number one thing that's going to keep businesses out is a lack of a legal framework concerning the supply. If they invest, a couple $1,000s on some custom dome, and then there's nothing saying that they will never mint more of them, they're just going to say, no, I'm going to find somebody who's willing to write a contract saying there will only be this many, right? Or there is an emission rate over time that will never exceed this amount. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, I want to. Do you think that makes sense to me? Now getting businesses into the metaverse, I believe what you're saying is maybe the ones who are invested into it right now will start their own businesses. I think we'll be the first adopters, and we have to be, because if we're not, then there's nothing going to happen. So I know we want to buy custom domes.
I think with experience, after I set up my custom dome for my company, I can say, okay, this worked for me, this didn't, and I'm going to be looking at other businesses and saying, okay, this will work for that business, this will work for that business, and setting up consultation for those types of businesses that want to get involved in the metaverse. That's definitely something, it's being done now, but most metaverses are terrible, so.
Well, yeah. Let me ask real quick. I know we got dog waiting, but I wanted to ask kind of a technical question, because a lot of the times we talk about, potential for the future and everything. You talk like you might be able to build this immediately as soon as you get your custom dome. My question would be, do you think that the build kits will be so advanced that you will be able to build an accurate representation of your pump and things like that, and actually be able to disassemble it or do the things you need?
It's all about Unreal Engine 5. And that's going to be I've considered doing some work on it myself, as far as importing from, say, some sort of CAD program. There are a variety out there. And I can take all the drawings for my pump, every single part, and I can import it into Unreal Engine 5. And then those parts can be manifested into the metaverse. And so a person that has the ability to manipulate those objects in the metaverse, they can take it and put a screw in that has its own little CAD drawing, taking a rear enclosure and screwing it into a front plate, just pop, pop, pop. And that just has unlimited potential for me and unlimited potential for a lot of people. Imagine people that need to, they need to wire up an electronics board. I mean, I have to do it for my pumps, and they have to do it for pretty much every other piece of equipment in the world that's being used right now. And so if somebody can just sit there in the metaverse and say, I know how to do this, I'll show you exactly how to fix what you're trying to fix. You have a problem with your car? I can show you how to do it. Here's a Volvo 1998. I know how to fix it, just like this, right? Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah,
absolutely. That was a great answer. I'm glad to hear that you'd actually thought that all the way through.
Yeah, I'm going to say one more thing, and then I'm going to bring Dog up, if that's okay, Chef, with you.
Sounds good.
What you were saying may be one of the earliest. If that can be implemented, where we can take CAD drawings and put them into Unreal Engine 5 and be able to implement them in the game, that may be the first business. You may have that one guy's shop set up.
That was my first point when we started this space, right? And you guys said no.
I wasn't here. I got in like half an hour later.
Genius, Shaft. You weren't here to back me up.
I wasn't listening to you anyways, frankly.
Well, imagine anybody can make CAD drawings. Have you guys ever seen Tinkercad?
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying if somebody has a CAD drawing, that may be the first shop that's set up. It's like I want to turn my CAD drawing into an Unreal Engine 5. That may be the first shop that's set up, or one of them.
Yeah.
I don't know if Pryler said that, but you may be able to walk into this shop and say, "Hey, I got these CAD 5. I got these CAD drawings, and it's in this format. Can you turn them into something that's Unreal Engine 5 and it's as precise as my CAD drawing?" That may be the first business. You may get the tech industry involved in that first, or the program,
or the clothing industry, right?
Or the designers, yeah. All right, I'm going to move over to Dog. Is that all right with everybody?
Let's hear it.
Let's go, Dog.
Okay.
Hey, what's going on, people? Hope everybody's having a good day. I'm sitting here in my office, just chilling out in between patients. I wanted to go back to what Stein was talking about. You were asking if it's going to be a desolate area, and I think you kind of started to answer that question when you said that it's almost got to be homegrown. Yeah, we have to be the first ones to set up these businesses and to get people in. Personally, what I'm doing is, and I'm part of the Corn Mafia. I'm the Dow holder for both and all that stuff. But I'm bringing, it's pure for me. It's pure entertainment. I'm a pretty successful psychotherapist. I have a business in New York. It's great, whatever. That's all good and fine and dandy. But I want to bring entertainment. I want to be able to showcase comedians. I see 7 down there. I want musical artists. I want all kinds of stuff to come in. So my idea is, let's do shows. Let's do talent show. Let's do an open mic. Let's do something where people can show their wares, enter into a competition, and win a certain amount of the pot. And I want to highlight everybody who is in this Web3. I want to showcase everybody. I want to have auctions for physical art where you get the NFT and you get the art piece. I'm ready to rock and roll. I mean, I'm doing it on another one. I already got a building built, and I'll have one built as soon as we get the specs for cornucopias, and we'll be ready to rock and roll, man. I'll be holding a comedy show. I'll probably do one a week. I think I talked to Stein about that before.
Yep.
And but it's something that you got to get people jazzed. Okay, so you can't always go to the Garden to go see Louis C.K. You can't. Sometimes you just want to hang home. Well, all right. Sometimes you want to be part of a competition. You go in there and who's the hottest rapper, who's the hottest country star, I don't care what kind of music it is. I want to bypass all of these, the record labels and the art people, and bring them on in, because that is going to attract people. Where you can set up a place where you hear music playing, like, oh, what's that music? All of a sudden, there's a little pop-up link for you to hit. That's the artist. That's 7. That's our dude Seven, man. You want to buy some of his NFTs? Here they are. Here's his site. Bada bing, bada boom. So I think that it's not going to be desolate. I think it's up to us to build it, but I think it's really exciting to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm as the host of this, I have to play devil's advocate. So,
Absolutely.
I can't just I just can't let it fly by. Yeah, I think early adopters like yourself will be the ones who are actually selling the concept of a business. And I when I said a desolate landscape, it's scary to think that people don't want to adopt this in the future, and I hope they do. I hope they realize the technology that's going into this, and companies like Apple with their new Apple glasses that are coming out will probably be very similar to any other VR. But a lot of these VR companies, and I'm not saying that the metaverse is going to be VR. A lot of us are going to just be playing it on monitors, because VR is expensive to set up, and if you don't have the right equipment, it can be not a good experience with lag and all that stuff. But what I want to do is I want to move the discussion forward a little bit. We're coming up on the hour, and I'm going to move the discussion on this to the devil's advocate point of view, and ask questions and do statements on why people don't want to be in the metaverse, so we can come up with ideas to move them forward to the idea that they should. So let's spend this half hour, all of us, on the negative side of why companies do not want to be in the metaverse, and move the discussion that way, if that's okay with everybody. I know it's a weird thing to do, but I think it's therapeutic for us to do that, and then talk over the points of that, and maybe another. If we can talk about today, that would be great, because we only have a half hour left. But is that something we can do? Move it over to the negative, why businesses shouldn't be in the metaverse, and then find out possibilities why they should.
I think that's a great topic. I think we kind of covered this a bit last week as well when we was talking about marketing.
Right.
And I'll very briefly say the same as what I said last week. It's perception awareness and terminology. There's a lot of FUD out there. I mean, look at FTX and all of that, and the lack of understanding on blockchain technology and bad actors like FTX. That is a massive barrier. It's that fear factor, and I think terminology. And we touched on this earlier. We need to make the metaverse and Cornucopias invisible from a blockchain point of view to gamers. So I think there are two massive barriers.
Yeah, I think maybe we have one of the biggest drawbacks why people shouldn't invest too early is unpredictable regulations.
Yeah.
If the metaverse becomes more popular and the government start to get involved, will this put regulations on businesses? I mean, what about countries that shouldn't be, doing businesses on the metaverse, or purchasing or stuff like that? And I don't want to get into a political discussion. I don't want to, but I think that may be one of the drawbacks to one of the negative things that companies may stay out, because they're not sure of regulations and how that's going to affect their businesses. So
I think that's a really valid point. That's definitely one of my main concerns, is just, how is technology going to advance, and how is, regulations going to advance in this brand new emerging space. So I think that's going to keep a lot of people out, or at least be, a large barrier.
Ultimately, I think a lot of it is familiarity. Now, a lot of people didn't use the internet back in the day when it first kicked off. I mean, it was slow and it was clunky. You know, if you were on your 28.8 modem, I don't know how many people here remember that.
Yep.
And listening to that sound grind away on your eardrums, that is kind of where I see the metaverse right now. You know, if you're very, very wealthy, you have access to some pretty amazing things with Bloom and things like that. But overall, I think that just familiarity, and if we get, I'm going to be investing in some of the technology. You know, some good VR setup, some motion capture suits, some other things, and I'm going to have it that I can just send it in the mail to my customers or to the USGS or whoever else needs to interact with this. And once people start getting used to it, I mean, it just saves it. What it comes down to is it either saves a certain amount of time in their day, or it saves a certain amount of money. And that's what we have to kind of push on certain parts of the business. The business side, that's the easy, low-hanging fruit, in my opinion.
Right. So we have, another fault or another negative is the lack of real world interactions. Right. I mean, if these companies thrive on interacting with the customers, are they going to trust the metaverse? Do you think that's going to be a problem?
Well, have you read Snow Crash? Has anybody here read it? Fantastic book. Oh, go ahead.
No, I haven't read it. Go ahead.
Oh, it's a great book, and it's basically it's about the first metaverses, and the ones that basically the spaces in the metaverse that was all connected that really flew were the ones that had the best facial recognition software. Basically, if people could, because how much of our brain is geared toward understanding faces, like 5 to 10% or something crazy like that, just reading facial expressions.
Yeah.
And being able to have that interaction with somebody is critical. Just being able to see when they're happy, when they're sad, how they respond to whatever you say, really governs how we interact with each other. And so if we can incorporate some of that, I think that would really help with that point you just brought up, Stein.
Well,
Chef, I'm sorry, Stein. I was just going to jump on Chef for a second. You're 100% correct. People do not like change. This is the business I'm in. I'm in the business of people and minds. And we don't like change. But if change is made easy, or they could see that, okay, this is not, it's not going to, they're not going to come and take my kidneys out because I'm on the metaverse. They do have to be able to interact. They do have to be able to see that, okay, this is not going to hurt. Fear is, that's fear of the future. That's what fear of the future is. We have to get people just to be in the present and see. And the only way to do it, or one of the best ways to do that, is to have them interact, like you said, and say, okay, well, that wasn't that bad. They didn't come rob my house. They didn't, take my dog. I didn't have to sell my kids. But it's getting them there. It's getting them from the past, getting them stuck in the past, because that's where people don't want to go. They want to leave the past, but then they're afraid of the future. But we don't recognize the moment that we have in the present. So I think that's one of the barriers, as well as getting people to relax and to be able to see that, okay, well, this is prospering and this looks good. And you're absolutely right. Interaction is 100% correct. I got to agree with you there.
I know I'm a big Apple user, and I've one of the discussions they had with the new glasses they're coming out with is that they're going to be able to do face mapping, which I believe is coming out on their glasses, or may be coming out. So instead of using a cartoonish looking avatar, it'll be a face mapped avatar. So your avatar will be your face. But when I was thinking about this, when we were talking, what happens if you say you have a spot, in the metaverse that you purchase with an NFT, and it's yours and you own it and it's your business. What happens if bad actors come in? What happens if bad actors? This is a negative. What happens if bad actors come in? Can we push them out? Can you silence them? What if there's things in the metaverse that it shouldn't be in there. Stuff like dark web or deep web stuff.
Yeah, I think security and stuff like that's always going to be an issue. But I mean, in a decentralized environment, can you censor these people?
Well, I'm not even talking about decentralized environment, but okay, maybe decentralized because we're talking about NFTs. Like if you purchase a building or you purchase a spot with an NFT and you want to implement
Well, you
bad
were talking
player
about removing
stuff,
bad actors, so I thought we were going decentralized because centralized always has bad actors.
right?
What's to stop Facebook from saying, "Hey, I know that we said that you own all these things in the form of NFTs, but they're on our metaverse and we're taking it down, so screw you."
Right,
You know?
but what I'm saying, like if we're in a Web3 metaverse, you know,
What's to
it's
stop someone from buying a bunch of Kopi tokens and doing something shady? I don't
right.
think you can stop bad actors. There's no perfect world.
This was my point earlier, and I think there's going to be a lot more negative press than positive press until we can get a grip of that.
Right.
This was my point earlier. It could we're going to have a lot of dark days ahead of us because of people getting used to decentralization, especially in the Web3 space.
Yeah, that's
the only time you ever see crypto in the news is when something bad happened.
Yeah, that's what we talked about last week too with the marketing. Moody was saying that earlier. Is I was saying, if you make one person unhappy, 5 hear about it. If you make people happy, only 1 or 2 hears about it. So, people like to spread bad information more than they like to spread good information. It's just our society and the way the human brain seems to work. I try to spread positive positive thoughts. That's how I've always been.
Stein, I think the media and journalism takes a massive responsibility in spreading bad news. I don't think it's human nature at all. I mean, I look back over my life and I only remember good things. So I actually think it's forced upon us to spread bad news. And that's why, I mean, I think it'd be great to have some level of decentralized journalism, because what we read in our newspapers and on our cookied filled internet stream is put in front of us. It's not our choice. So, yeah, but we are going to have a lot of bumps in the road.
You're right, Moody. That's 100% correct. This is the way the establishment is currently and how it has been. And we are going to get a lot of bad press because they don't want things to change. They do not want to see people spreading positivity, because once you start spreading positivity, then actual real ideas come into it, and there's not this divisiveness. So it's a changing of the institutions, whether it's in journalism or who's running the thing. But I also think that there should be a code of conduct. You can't have somebody going around chasing kids around cornucopias, flashing them on the Web3 and stuff. That kind of stuff's got to be not even regulated. It's got to be a code of conduct. If it's not followed, I don't know if you do it with a DAO. I don't know how you do it, but that is a negative point.
This is a conundrum on decentralization, isn't it?
Well, I think that's why I'm not a big advocate for it, but I really don't care. All my information's already out there anyways. But like if you had what I was saying before, if you had digital identifications, you couldn't get into this space unless you had one, then the people who are under a certain age would only see the metaverse in their eyes as only the people that are in their age group.
Yeah,
right?
That's great, but nobody wants to be the first person exposed to some freak. I know. It's really hard.
They've already done that. They've already had that.
We already have the internet.
Yeah, they've already had people in other metaverses put out cases. At least here in America, we had it on the news about people that were bad actors talking with younger people. But I think I don't really want to go down this tube. But I think if we had the possibility of like, oh, this person's been bothering me, you can just click on their name and then they turn invisible and they can't follow you or track you anymore.
Right. Yeah. Engineering solutions, right?
Right.
Work around it.
Right. Because they're all smart contracts, and these people that are in the metaverse have their own unique identifier,
Yeah.
So
you mentioned earlier in the show the adult industry and how that might be, bad or whatever. But to my mind, I feel like with blockchain technology and Web3, you might have a better opportunity to censor some of that stuff, because all Web2 does is say, hey, are you 18? Click on this button.
Yeah.
I've Googled that.
So, you Googled that, did you?
Is that how you got
I
did a lot of research for this segment.
That's how you got to that point? You Googled it? You didn't?
So in any case, so what's stopping somebody who's under the age of 18? I shudder to think anybody ever does this, but they could lie and access that website.
Right. That's where
People can order alcohol online starting at the pandemic. You know what I mean? Because they started selling it online. I worked with a kid that was 19. He's like, I can buy whiskey now.
Yeah.
So it might give us better control. But now we are deep in a rabbit hole. I see Chris Hansen has his hand up. You want to come up here, Chris?
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
That was a joke, Stein.
I know.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure.
What are you doing here?
Sit down. Go ahead and have a seat.
Yeah, Adrian wants his hand up too. No, and Snowden, he's in the group. So the negative parts we can always put a counterpoint to, and back and forth. And another negative I want to get on is like we've already talked about this, is the unfamiliar terrain of moving businesses, and they're not familiarized with it. And that'll probably be one of the bigger negatives that we'll see in the beginning, is the unfamiliarity of running a business in a metaverse. And will they need special teams of people to run these businesses, or can they be autonomous? Can you walk into a shop with no physical person there, and will that be how the shops will be run? Or will there be an avatar in there? Is that another way of providing service to somebody if you just have a shop and there's no one in there to talk to? Is it going to be?
You already have those in China.
Well, I know they have them in China.
I use that as my barometer. If China has it, we'll have it in 10 years.
Yeah, well, let's hope we don't follow China too hard, huh?
Just kidding. Yeah.
Let's hope we don't go too far down that rabbit hole and everybody's living in China. I mean, nothing wrong with China, I guess. But,
yeah, I think barrier is going to be just a huge barrier. I think it's something that we all got to do every day, just out there helping to educate and further the space. I hope that technology and education advances really quickly. I love to see people like Cornucopias gamifying the education. So I think,
now, do you think that'll be a job that's, I mean, when you go onto a website, there's nobody there to talk to. And I don't want to get too far into the AI of things, but if you can train an AI on your products that you want in the store, will the avatar be AI, or can we outsource jobs? I mean, now I'm getting back into the positive aspect. I mean, can we?
Why
can
would
we
you
out, can we
outsource a job when AI could do it so well?
Well, because maybe you want the human touch. I don't know, man. But is this something that may be implemented in the future? Okay, I'm opening up a store to sell such and such item. Well, is it going to be empty? Is it going to be a person in there waiting in the store, or is it going to be like a call center where you can set up massive amounts of people wearing VR, or maybe not even VR, just on a monitor, who are there to answer your questions that don't even work for your company? I mean, is it going to be like, the call center hey, I'd like to look at this handbag, and then a call center, their avatar, is like, you got to work for this company now, because
I don't think so, Stein, because now you've got material costs, you've got payroll, you've got to rent that building, you've got electricity. No. One of the big reasons would be not having all that stuff.
No, I'm talking about in the virtual world.
Who's going to host those virtual reality machines that the so-called real world virtual attendance uses?
We're talking about the metaverse, right? We're talking about a store in the metaverse. At least that's what I'm talking about.
So to apply at 7-Eleven in the metaverse, you have to own a VR headset at home?
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
I missed you then.
Well, will that be a new job? will that be a new job opportunity? I guess maybe it is what I'm talking about, but will that be a new job opportunity for people who are in the metaverse to work for a store? Or will it be just a giant call center, or will it all be AI? Will these people that work, you know, you can have a call center and you can have one person that works for 20 different companies, you know?
They're busy.
Right. You know, it's like, oh, somebody's here. Boop. You know, okay, next caller, please. You know?
I think one of the big reasons people might move into like a real world business, it's not already all e-commerce. I think one reason they might want to move in is to have reduced costs. So I don't see that. I see it being AI.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you can walk into a store. You know, my cousin, if you look at my project, Not Chillin', we sold out, but he had a clothing line. So then he made NFTs, and it took us about a year or so to get everything going. But you know, when you walk into our place, you're going to see all kinds of shit. You're going to see stuff from other, maybe maybe Moody's selling something, maybe Stein, maybe you're selling mugs or something. I'll put your stuff up there too, so you'll have a link right to your website. You really won't need anybody to take care of it. You walk around, you see something you like. Okay, let me go check out that place. So it goes to their site, and then if you fulfills an order or puts an order request in, and then it's kind of a link between Web 3 and Web 2.
Right.
And,
but will it be even be better than, because and if you're in Web 3 in a metaverse, you can actually have a physical person in there to talk to. Well, you can't do that online. You can have a chat bot, but that kind of sucks, right?
Yeah, whoever talks to those things, I only talk to them when I'm drunk.
Right. I mean, they're great conversationalists, and I always ask them, "Is this are you a computer?" And they come back. They don't even come back with an answer. But that might be something to think about in the future. Is the possibility of having your storefront online, but then have somebody physically there to talk to. Having a physical avatar to show you a product and help you. I mean, when I was coming up, when I was younger, there used to be a lot of commission-based stores. Shoe stores were commission-based. All the car companies were commission-based. I had worked for Radio Shacks during, part-time when I was growing up, and that they were commission-based because people, the internet took down Radio Shack, but it could be a possibility that you could come into a store and not know what you're looking for, because who knows? I mean, when you're searching on the web, and if you have a problem, the problem is you can't find what you're looking for half the freaking time because you don't know where to go to look for it. I mean, I know Amazon's trying to incorporate the whole world into their Amazon, but say you want to, okay, let's just say, something is broken and you need a diode, but you don't know what diode you need, or a capacitor, or any part to anything, or any piece of clothing. Would it be possible to have a physical person there you could actually talk to and help and guide you?
Have you ever gone into Home Depot and asked a question?
No, I don't go. I don't.
The AI is going to do better. I think
yeah.
you disproved your own point in that whole statement. All those things have gone by the wayside for a reason, and it's not going to happen. They're not going to hire real life people to come in and host these stores.
You don't think so?
I'm vehemently against it. I think we got to move on because it's such a non-issue.
All right.
Can I have throw a point in there?
Yeah.
I think there are situations and businesses where there will be hospitality-oriented individuals who provide a service, and some people go to places just to have somebody to talk to. Some people, like the earlier example of 7-Eleven, I don't go there to talk to the attendant. I go there to do whatever I'm going to, get whatever thing that keeps me on the road, if I need a Monster or whatever to keep driving. And so a lot of those, that'll be AI driven. And, there'll be like one dude sitting at his computer who just jumps in if somebody is, maybe they showed up and they're trashed, they're drunk or whatever, and they just want to blab at somebody. And they're like, okay, I'll talk to this person. But he's in control of 20 different 7-Elevens, just making sure that the AIs get everybody what they need, right? But then there are other situations where you have a business where people want that experience. They want somebody to talk to. the whole ritual of buying a thing, a new pair of shoes, a new Gucci bag. Well, you want somebody to know you bought that $500 purse, right? That goes inside your $1,000 purse. Doesn't that make sense?
I think
I
so.
mean,
That's
I know
That's
people
one I
who
hadn't
do that.
thought of. I don't shop at Gucci.
well.
Yeah, no, I mean, my brother has his wife's from Hong Kong, and shopping is a way of life. And you go from store to store to store. When you have free time, you shop. And so, but you need people to know that you shop. You need people to know that you have that Gucci bag inside your Gucci bag. Does that make sense? Or the Gucci wallet inside the Gucci bag. And so I think that people that are good at hospitality and batting their eyes and laughing at your jokes and stuff, that's going to be valuable. I mean, it already is. People go out to eat. That's a big part of it. They want people to serve them. They want people to laugh at their jokes.
That's
ask them how pregnant they are.
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking that it's not going to be all AI driven, Freiler. Sorry to put you on that.
No, it's a valid point.
But you sometimes you need that human interaction, and I think it is a good job possibility for the future of people looking to get into what if you're very knowledgeable about a product. I mean, can AI always figure out your problem or help you to make you feel good about coming in shopping? I don't think so. I mean, I enjoy using OpenAI and stuff like that, but I certainly enjoy talking to you more than I like talking to him or it or that or whatever it is. I mean, does it have a pronoun yet? I don't know.
Valid, very valid points. We just needed Shaft to connect the dots again,
Yeah.
He's such a good mediator.
Well, that's what I'm here for.
Like, I can't hear Stein, he can't hear me, but if Shaft says what he said, that makes sense.
Yeah, there we go, man. So yeah, I think you're always going to need a human touch, because if not, we'll just have AIs buying stuff off in AIs.
Yeah, I think it'll occasionally be, you'll occasionally want a human touch, right? I mean, sometimes it's just more efficient. I don't want to go and pick up my melatonin for my daughter at the store, but that's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Come on, bot number 2, go and get that.
Yeah.
Or have it shipped here.
Yeah.
Or fly it over the mountain.
Yeah.
But, when I go and I sit down and I have a beer and I'm watching, the Super Bowl or the NFC Championship or whatever, well, I'd rather the bartender have a soul, and I'll talk to him about the game and whatever, right?
Right. Well, that's the thing.
This weird balance there.
I enjoy shopping. I always have, actually. And Freiler and I were talking about, clothing, how I used to spend large amounts on men's clothing when I had my company in Boston, because all the shops where all the lawyers were. So I wouldn't have picked out a certain, I would look at a pair of shoes or get a bespoke shirt or something like that, and I wouldn't maybe have purchased something. I mean, I don't want an AI saying, this is a perfect look for you. I don't want that.
Your eyes match that shirt really well. You should
Right?
go
Yeah. I don't want that. I want somebody to be like, yeah, no, that cut is just, it's not right for you, or no, you really shouldn't. Yeah, pair that with that, and you always got to need human touch.
I think eventually, some people might prefer an AI's input.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I think
because of prejudices, not because the AIs will be more honest or reliable, but just because they believe that they're more honest than people who just want to sell you and get that commission.
Sure. How many times? I mean, I don't know if any of you are avid shoppers that go into anything, but how many times have you gone into a shop and you're looking around and you don't buy anything, but you had a hell of a conversation with the guy that runs the shop? And next thing you know, it's been a half hour later, and you were just talking with the guy in there. So I think there's aspects of that'll be in the metaverse.
Hey Stein, I don't want to.
Go ahead, Sue.
Yeah, let's say okay. As we just have 5 minutes or 7 left, just wanted to mention that the in-shop experience or the omni-channel experience of consumers for sure has had a transition already from going to a shop on site to buying online. Now AI is coming in, and virtual showrooms, as I called it before, maybe in the metaverse. I think this is just one use case of a metaverse in the future, a logical one. But kind of coming back to the headline of this Twitter space, I wanted to link to the Meta commercial clips that we see here in Germany in the television at the best time in the evening. So there's Zuckerberg's video coming up and telling us what metaverse use cases should look like. So don't get me wrong, but I think that he is already providing a summary of possibilities that make sense, from learning, training, exhibitions, and excursions, and all these things. It all makes sense.
Yeah.
The good
Zuckerberg
thing
is
is that Meta, just a sentence, I'm finished. The good thing is that Meta is not, or has proven they are not capable to do it in the right way. You know, they just claim the topic for them. Mark Zuckerberg thought he can just rename his company and everything will run fine because he has the money, but it doesn't work like that.
Yeah. No,
but in general, his ideas are not bad. That's just what I wanted to point out.
Yeah. Well, thank you for pointing that out. And yeah, we are about 8 minutes away, so I'd like to just say a few more things because we're coming up on the 90-minute mark. I really appreciate everybody being here today. And if you're not in Cornucopias and you're interested in the metaverse, please check out Cornucopias Games. I think it's cornucopias.io is their website, if I'm not mistaken. If I am, please somebody bring that up. And if you get into the space, you can always find a guild. We're with the Corn Mafia Guild, and Moody is representing the Knights Guild. So if you're looking to get into a guild to help you work your way around the metaverse and work your way around cornucopias, that's always a good idea to look one of us up. I prefer you look one of us up because we're with Corn Mafia, but everybody's open in this Twitter space. So I just wanted to put that out there before I forget. Is there any more final thoughts on anything?
I just wanted to add to that real quick for anybody that is listening later. I know we got a lot of cornucopians here, but the way you can get in touch with those guilds is join the Cornucopias official Discord. There is a channel there where you can get in contact with some guild recruiters.
Thanks, Father.
Awesome.
Of course.
Can I throw something out?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just a quick blurb. I just want to, is it possible that we could have another voice chat in Discord in, say, 1 hour? I have a couple of things I wanted to lay on you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I can throw up. I'll be on. I can put. You're with Cornucopia? You're with Corn Mafia, right?
Yeah, I have that.
Okay. Well, how about in an hour time I throw up a VC in Cornucopias, in Corn Mafia Guild, and we'll do a VC in 1 hour from now at the end of the show. How's that?
Sounds good.
So if anybody else would like to join, I'll be hosting it over there.
Yeah, I have a couple of things I've been setting up. I have a foundation that I'm setting up to get metaverse stuff and world mobile stuff set up in schools. And so,
okay, that'd be something great we can talk about over there. And if you're not, if you're not in the Corn Mafia Guild and you'd like to join, please look us up. We're in Cornucopias. And if you want to come into the discussion, say Moody, if he wants to come into discussion, I believe he's able to get into the Corn Mafia. If not, let me know. We can work out something, I'm sure. If not, that's fine too. But I really appreciate everybody's being here. And we got 5 more minutes. And if anybody has anything else they'd like to say, come on up, or whoever is up here, let's go next. And I'm not sure what we're going to be doing for our next Twitter space next Wednesday at 12 p.m. my time, Eastern time, or 1700 UTC. But I think Freiler and I will look at this conversation and listen back on it and find some good points to maybe start a discussion on something else. So anybody else?
Just a big thank you to you, Stein and Freiler, for hosting this. Excellent job.
Well, hey, thank you everyone for tuning in.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we got 5 more minutes to kill. So let's hear from somebody else that just wants to say hello. Anybody in here that want to say hello?
I'm trying so hard not to call people up by name right now.
Well,
But it is really cool that everyone keeps showing up, you know.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I think some of the people that are in here are really heavy into the game too, and I'm really glad that they came in to listen and
to contribute. The speakers are always awesome in these spaces. You can tell everyone's really critically thinking and really bringing up a lot of really great talking points. So thank you to all the speakers that came in, shared the stage with us today.
Well, Moody seems to be our guest speaker on every from now on. So if he can make it every week, we can always have Moody up here because we always like to have somebody's point of view from another guild if we start talking about guild stuff, which we tend to do.
All right.
Actually, we stayed away from cornucopias for most of this conversation. I was really surprised.
Well, we are in the cornucopia space, and most of us know, that we're in that metaverse. So when we're talking about metaverses, a lot of people would think we're talking about cornucopias, but we are talking we are talking about cornucopias. So that's the fact, because we're our channel here is a Corn Mafia Guild, and we're right on our logo it says cornucopias. So we're always going to state cornucopias. So if anybody doesn't know about it, please look them up. So I'm going to cut this a little bit short. My name is Stein66. I'm on Twitter. You can look me up under Chef Bicky, or you can just find me somehow. But I will be in the Discord server in 1 hour, and we can go over a few things. If everybody else would like to join us in there, that would be great to continue the discussion. I would like to thank my co-host Freiler. He's on Twitter too. His name is Freiler on Twitter, I believe, right, Freiler?
Yep, Freiler on Twitter, Cryptorama on YouTube. If you guys are looking for NFT or just general DeFi news, check me out.
I'd like to thank Sue and Dog and Moody and Chaff for coming up, and thank you guys. Please retweet this Twitter space if you can, and we'll come out with a new subject, and I'll put it out Sunday, so you all know what we're going to be talking about. And I just want to end this by saying thank you very much for coming, and thank you very much from the Corn Mafia Guild, and thank you from me. Everybody have a great day. You take it easy now.
This has been a Corn Mafia production.
Corn Mafia Guild.